How's it going, YouTube? Eddie Gray back at it again. It is Saturday. We want to keep this going, this conversation that we have been dragging on here for the last couple of sessions. We're talking about live loops. Now, anybody can just skim over the details, show you how to press play, but here at Resources for the Modern Creative, we want to make sure that we establish the most solid foundation so that you too could become a Logic Pro Power user. You ready? Let's go. What's going on? Hope you're doing well today. We're covering Logic Pro. We're doing this 6 days a week. If you're loving the content here at Resources for the Modern Creative, brought to you by HF Music Academy, go ahead and sub. Look, just a quick favor to ask, just send this to one person. It's a pretty even exchange. Here we go. I see you guys putting in that work every single day. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. Good job. Good job. Very good. Very good. I see you. You're ready? Get in another session to learn just a little bit more. And perhaps that is what will make the difference. My name is Eddie Gray. We've been covering the Logic User Guide for the last couple of weeks/months. It has been epic. I'll tell you, if you go back and you take the information that's been given to you and you uncover it, I'm telling you, there is treasure troves by the dozen. So go ahead and check it out. And again, if you're loving what we're doing, all we ask is that you support the channel. Thank you for everyone sends all the super chats, all the comments, just all the love. I'm very grateful and I really appreciate it. You know that this is a labor of love and we're just trying to help other people really understand the program. I've had the benefit of training under some Logic giants, David Nomani, Edgar Rothermick, who is probably the greatest of all time. And we want to make sure that we pay our dividends, that we honor the people who have come before us, right? And so then now it's my turn and I get my shot and I get my rotation. And so I want to make sure that we bring the realest information and that we give you the information in a way that is succinct, in a way that you can understand, but moreover, in a way that will sustain from year to year to year. I've been doing this for 7 years. I was able to transition from another career, and I've been showing people how to do this ever since. Multiple countries, multiple states. I love the work. I need to be around it, and now I am happy to be working with you. And it's been a great week thus far. I've been doing so much work, planting so many seeds in so many different places, and I can't wait to tell you more about it. If you want to hear more about it, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so that every time we come on, we can meet. Now, I do want to just say fair game. There's a ton of new content coming that I'm very excited about, so stay tuned. That being the case, guys, we have so much to cover. I really don't want to wait another minute. Let's go into Logic Pro and learn how to import an audio file to an empty cell. Well, just like in the tracks area, we know that we can simply Control-click, add audio file, and we can also press the corresponding key command, Shift-Command-I. So let's say we want to bring something into the mix. I'll pretend that we want to bring something into a new audio track here. Okay, so I'm not going to record anything, so I'll make sure that the input is set to no. Number of tracks, uno. All right, here it is right here. I'll click on this necessary cell. I could have also just used the keyboard. Let me go ahead and turn something on to show you guys. All right, see how that works? But in this case, I just decided to do it one way. You might do it this way. I might do it that way. You might say it this way. I might say it that way. But the point is that we are selecting the cell and it is ready for takeoff. Now again, we can control click, add audio file, or we can hit the corresponding key command shift, command I. Now before I complete this, I want to look at my project settings, right? These are project specific. Option P is the key command for that. And so we want to look at smart tempo, and we see that nothing is on here. We're set up with the default, which is keep project tempo. Now I'm curious, if I play something that is not necessarily in time, this is 90 beats per minute, so the tempo is going to sound something like this: 3 4 1 2 3 4. Okay, I want to play something that is, see if I could bring this up somehow. Hold on. Yeah, let's go here. All right, let's listen to this. It's a little bit slower, right? 1 2 3. Our tempo was a little bit faster, so we can just drag this in if we want to, guys. But let's go ahead and try it another way. All right, so let's go back to Logic. Again, I'll use the arrow keys. Oh, wait, my focus is in the tracks area on the right-hand side, so I'll hit Tab. Now the focus is inside of the live loops grid. I will start using my arrow keys. You don't have to do it this way. I'm just, having fun learning something while I'm here. All right, so Shift Command I brings up the dialog window. I'll hit Command D, which will summon the desktop rapid snare topper. So based on what we have read, I believe the user guide said that basically this is going to be analyzed and will conform to tempo. I hit Command F. I see flex time is on, so this may be true, but let's corroborate this information. Let me bring down the overall master. I would never do this in real life, as I always tell you, but I just want to watch our ears. Here we go. So it in fact is in time. It's really interesting how it's playing it back. Let me listen to this. All right, no. Okay, so everything is as it should be. Let me go ahead again. I'm making sure this is in key focus. Let me turn off the click command, key command K, and I will then control click on this, and I will go back to playback, and this time I will manipulate the speed. Ooh, I can't because flex time is on. Is that right? Let's try this. We're gonna try hack. So, and there's different ways to do this, but I'm gonna bounce this. I'll just say snare, and then this time I'll say fast. All right, so let that bounce to audio. All right, good. Let me delete the previous one, and let's see if it works this way. I will perform that again, and now I can. Oh, says I can't access speed. Why not? Is flex time still on? Oh, let's take that off. Okay, let's go back. Playback speed. Sweet. Double the time here. Let's make sure it's playing correctly. Okay, that did not play with the timing. Not sure why. It was supposed to play back double time. Let's go. Oh, looks like it didn't register. Let's try this again. Huh. Is this a bug? What is going on? This is supposed to play in double time. All right, another hack, right? You always have to come up with hacks. You just never really know what's going to happen and what's not. Go ahead and try that in your system. It should work perfectly. I'm not sure what's going on here. Let's listen to this inside of the tracks area. So I'll take that global priority button there, and let's listen to this. C to turn off the cycle locators. Okay. So then let's go ahead and play with speed here. We hopefully will be able to pull this off. Wait, no. Why can't I access speed? Is it because flex is not on this time? No. Okay. So let's come up with another hack. I know there's some contingencies there, but I just don't want to take a lot of time on this. So look, I'm hovering over the bottom right. I will hold Option, and then I will literally compress and create what it is I was trying to create with the region inspector and the playback inside of the live loops grid. Let's listen to this. Yeah. Okay, cool. So now this is playing double time. And then what I'll do is I believe if I just drag it here, I should be able to access the same performance. Let's check it out. Yeah. All right. So there may be a little bit of that. I have seen that at least in my experience. And I really, yeah, I need to come up with a document, a troubleshooting document to help beginners with this whole concept of loops and when we can access, you know, speed and playback and all this stuff, because it does become a bit cumbersome. All right, so let's listen to this. Okay, let's listen to this again. All right, not exactly playing in time. Why not? Let's solo this. I'll hit K again. Let's listen to the metronome. Okay, that works. Yeah, there's like a little bit of a stutter when it's time to play it back. So that can be fairly frustrating there. I'm going to take the cell length and I'm going to just make 1 rotation. Let's see if this helps with that. So not sure if you saw that. I did that inside of the cell inspector. And I should probably close that. Okay, let's listen to this now. All right, so in this region here, there's still a little bit of, it's like this false start, and that would probably be the culprit right there. Let me go ahead and resize this. I'll just, you know, try and see how sensitive I can be here. Let me get out of the grid by going to ticks. You could have also just turned off the grid, and I'm just trying to see if I could. Okay, and actually there might be a better strategy. Check this out. Let's see if this works, okay? I'm going to, I don't have shuffle here. Okay, gotcha. There's a really interesting feature in Logic where you can, as you edit, have something move over to the right or to the left. Okay, so let's see. Let's see if this solves the issue. Let's play it. Okay, not bad, but still not entirely right, yeah? All right, and that's because the size of this is not perfect. So you could try and set it here, okay? But it's probably a little bit better, honestly, to set it up here. So cell length 1. All right, let me just reestablish that in case there was, I don't know, some decimals. Loop length. Well, I'm not necessarily looping this. Yeah, so that's not right. We need to drag this out. And now I should probably be on snap to grid. If you want to learn more about the workflow, please check out the last videos. I cover all of this stuff extensively. Okay, so now this is at position bar 2, beat 1, division 1, tick 1. Okay, so that should be right. Let me isolate just this one to see if it plays well. All right, kind of. Not great for sure. Let me try 1.0. No. So the loop has to start at 1.1, and I'm sure the same goes for this. And the cell, yeah, the playback is not optimal. So anyway, we could spend more time troubleshooting, but there's way more to cover. So that's something that I would probably end up doing, honestly, thoroughly inside of the tracks area. I would get this to just, you know, perfectly sit with the song, and it's probably not a bad idea to then use the hybrid workflow where everything except track number 36 is playing here, right? And that way we can listen to the part in question. So I guess I can give you a quick example, because a lot of people have, you know, asked, like, so what's the point? Like, why have both, right? And from what I've seen, I haven't really seen a lot of real world cases. So this is, probably a good way to look at it, at least for now. Let me just try one time. Let me just make sure this is, perfect 1 bar. So again, everything will play from track 36 down to 1 over here, but this one's going to play on the right-hand side. All right, let's see how this goes. Okay, and that one there. Actually, you know what? I don't want this one to pay. Okay, let's go. Okay, so the one that's causing the most problem is actually this snare up here. If I mute it, you'll see what I mean. Yeah, so this one is not that bad. I think I could probably get rid of that last hit there on the right, and then this would really sync to the tempo. Okay, but this snare here is causing some issues. Why? I'm not exactly sure. It looks right. It's maybe something that I have to quantize, in which case let's control click it. It's not under flex, so let's make sure it is. Okay, so now Logic has analyzed the transient markers, and so then we're going into quantize, and let's do 1 step, 1, 2, enter 4. Maybe I'll do eighth note, see what that sounds like. All right, press play. Remember, everything is playing from the live loops grid here, and then this horizontal track in the tracks area is playing. Why am I doing it this way? Because I'm trying to perform an edit. This is not necessarily a creative thing, but it can be, and we can get into that later. But let's try this. Okay, so that quantization is not working. So let's go back and let's do 16 notes. Let's see. Quantize here. Let's do that. Let's see how this sounds. All right. It's on the grid, but it just doesn't sound right. Like the hits could be a lot better. So this is something I guess we could probably edit in here as well. So I'm editing the snares inside of, not sure if we would call this the audio track editor, but I guess I will deem it the cell editor for now. But yeah, a couple of these hits, even though they're on the grid, they're just off time. The feel is wrong. So we may need to add swing or just move them a touch. Let's see. Yeah, particularly the second and 4. Let's see. This is what it looks like. I'm not going to go over it all. This is more like a workshop, but still, I just kind of wanted to bring this up really quick. I'll use the keyboard modifier. All right, let's see here. And maybe if I get rid of, oh no, then it's really off. Yeah, so we definitely need it, but the question is where, all right? So let me go ahead, create some flex markers and see if I could maybe drag this a little to the left. That actually sounded like a billion times better. So why don't I just bounce this to audio? Hold on. You'll see my workflow here. And then I'm assuming that I only need maybe not even the entire cell length. We just need, I don't know, let's try 1 bar, right? Actually, maybe even less than that, to be honest. So I'm kind of adjusting the cell length here in the cell inspector, and I'm just trying to see if I can pull this off. So this is 2 beats. Okay, I'll press play. Let's see if this works. Oh, I need to trigger this. Here we go. Okay, so fantastic. It actually sounds good. The only thing is this isn't a loop yet. This is theoretically a one-shot. How can I tell? Well, number one, it played back right just one time over, but look at the illustration. Like, for example, if I highlight this one here, I'm sorry, this one here. If you let me close the cell editor. Look at the illustration. See how it's circular in nature? It's got all these cool looking animations. Here, we don't have that. So all we have to do is click it, and then inside of the cell inspector, click on loop, and then now this will loop proper. Let's check this out. Okay, we have to trigger it, of course. Yeah, that sounds a little bit better. And then, of course, I'll just blend it into the mix. Maybe just add a little bit of reverb just to get this to just sit nice and tight in the middle. I'll use Phoenix Verb. I like this a lot. Isotope just acquired exponential audio. Yeah, and that's probably a little bit better there. Okay, let's keep this train going, shall we? Where is my user guide? Hope you are doing well on this Saturday. We've been doing this for just such a long time, and it's been great. Again, I tell people, like, we're climbing Everest over here. If you want to get in on this, let's go ahead and climb Kilimanjaro together, right? We're on page 645, so you're not late to the game. You're never late to the game. All right, we can convert drummer and pattern cells to MIDI. That's probably some good Logic 101 stuff there. Hold on, let me move this over here. I hope this works. Yes, okay, cool. So for example, in the case of track number 3, let's listen to this. So we know that is MIDI. Here's the piano roll. But what if we were using another format? I don't have the drummer format here, so I'm just going to have to hack this really quick. Why don't I do this a different way? Let's hit the key command O, and then inside of the loop type, I'll hit pattern, and then here I'll just type in tambourine. Wait, oh yeah, I want to use drummer rather. Okay, so tambo. I was confused there because I'm like, I know this is here. All right, let's do, yeah, this is cool. All right, so we'll drag this in top of the track here. All right, let me click on a cell and then hit, Z won't bring me back. Let's do Option and then 2-finger gesture down. We could have also hit Command, up arrow key, left arrow key to kind of readjust the screen, but probably the Option 2-finger scroll is best. All right, so then now we're looking at this. We have a bit more, of a broader perspective here. Let's press play. All right, cool. And then so this is a drummer, right? We look at the technology. This is in fact the drummer tech. And so I will control click here. All right, and then we are going to go to convert to MIDI. All right, same goes for pattern format. So when we look at this now, we can see that clearly we are utilizing MIDI at its finest. Let's continue on. All right, this one's really interesting, and certainly have not heard anything, not a single peep anywhere in the interweb about extracting loops from audio. So what is it? Logic Pro can analyze the musical and sonic characteristics of a longer audio file, an audio cell, and extract the best sounding loops to empty cells. Okay. So basically, let's say you perform a lead or I don't know, you're running like an arpeggio or a sequencer or something, and you want to take the best loops of the bunch. You want to use some kind of algorithm to help you select automatically some of the performances that you are running through. You can choose the length of loops that you want to extract, or let Logic Pro do the work for you. So this is phenomenal. The fact that it's extracting the best loops of any size, right? By default, Logic Pro is only going to examine the detected downbeat position for potential loop start points. However, you can deactivate this setting to set the loop points to be set at other musically meaningful positions. So let's say, I don't know, you don't play on the 1, so you don't want it to analyze the 1. Maybe it's the upbeat, right? So maybe you can get that to work in that way. However, you can deactivate this, right? How do we do it? I guess we'll find out in a bit here. You can always manually change the resulting loop points if necessary. Okay, so I think that's worth a highlight there. To work effectively, loop extraction requires audio containing repetitions and accurate tempo information. All right, so if you really want this to work, we're going to need accurate tempo information, okay? So if you have something that is just avant-garde, right, no tempo, you're just playing a bunch of jazz chords, it's not going to work. I mean, maybe it'll work, but you know, if you want the best results, let's follow the user guide here. To get the best results, check the cell in the Smart Tempo editor before extracting and determine whether they show accurate beat mapping. So if you're thinking about doing this, and I already kind of created something here on the side, so you would want to kind of investigate and see if it's a good candidate. One of the things is it has to be a long loop or section. Now we can't, the funny part is we can't really analyze here inside of the live loops grid. So just as before, option B gives me the hybrid workflow. I will then grab this, take it to the other side. We'll hit the track priority button for the track itself. And when we look at this, now I can access Smart Tempo and we can make a sound decision if we think this has been analyzed appropriately. I think it has. Some key indicators. Well, it says 90 beats per minute up here. Also says that down here. That leads me to believe that we are in a good space. So I will then delete this because I dragged it from the loops grid. So again, option B will, option L will bring me back. Okay, option V is what toggles, and then option B gives us the hybrid workflow. Okay, so that's the first thing. You want to make sure that it's got the correct tempo information. Okay. Let's see. The loop extraction looks for loop points that delivers a smooth transition from loop end to loop start. Those loop points may not necessarily coincide with the musical structure of the analyzed audio. So just because they perfectly loop does not necessarily mean that this is going to make sense with the analyzed audio. In other words, I'm sure it could be the wrong timing or what have you. All right, so we're going to control click on an audio cell. And again, the only reason this is going to work, I just want to be clear, is because this region in the cell is shorter than, is longer than 2 bars rather. Okay, so here it says, hey, this is not going to work for the following reasons. Multiple cells are selected. The cell contains Apple loops or untagged loops, right? So you cannot do this with Apple loops, untagged loops. Flex and follow in the cell inspector is turned off. So we need to have flex and follow in the cell inspector turned on. So let's see right here. And you guys, I'm going to zoom in on it. Flex and follow, this has to be on. A lot of stuff to remember, huh? The region in the cell is shorter than 2 bars. Again, this has to be long, and then the cell is empty or contains multiple regions. I'm assuming they mean multiple takes, but maybe they're not using the word takes because you can't actually use take folders in live loops. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, so let's do it. Let's just click here. Listen to the part just so we become familiar with it. Let's see what's happening here. Here. Oh, like, why isn't it playing? Look at that volume. This stuff happens, right? Always go through the checklist. Volume, right? Is the power button on? You gotta do all this stuff and really check. You know, maybe slide this over and really see. Right now, I can't see the power button. Right? Why is that? Let's see. Option T. Power button is off. So we want to learn how to configure the track header. These are all things that I teach over at hfmusicacademy.com. I show everybody the fundamentals. Right? We learn the program in and out. So it's just natural. It's just another language. Right? Okay. So let's listen to this. Here we go. Okay. So truth be told, this is just a loop that I brought together and I bounced it, I think, over, I don't know, 12 bars or something. So I will control click. Then when we get to extract loops, here we can tell Logic what we want it to do. Okay, let's read through the settings and then we will start to pick it apart. Optimal full loops is going to extract the longest loop within the selected cell. All right, best 2 bar will obviously determine the best 2 bar loops and copies them next to the empty cells to the right. Same with 4, same with 8. Let's read this last one. Extract best loops of any size. So we're going to tell Logic, hey, can you determine what you think is the best choice and can you copy them to the next empty cell to the right? Right? AI at its finest. You got to love it. To consider all musically meaningful positions for potential loop start points, not just downbeats, and make sure limit loop points is turned off in the extract loop submenu. Wow. Okay, so let's read this part, right? Because they're giving you a tip. If you really want this to consider musically meaningful positions for potential loop and start points, not just the downbeats. So again, if it's a little bit more complicated, in this case, the downbeat's going to work because it's da da right away. It says make sure limit loop points to downbeats is turned off. And you can find that if I control click here and I go back to extract loops, right? We would disable it. In this case, I'm curious to see what happens if I have Logic. Actually, let's start with 2 bars, right? We know that's going to work. Okay, so wow, look at that. It analyzes it and wow, nothing happened. Where to go? I guess I'll open up this. Did it move it over here? It shouldn't, right? Didn't it say that it was going to move it to the right of the cell? It copies them to the next empty cell to the right. All right, we're going to try this again. Again, this is the part. Okay, that's fairly easy. Turn off the click and let's go extract loops. This time I'll go 4 bar. Let's see how this goes. Wow. Okie dokie. So it got serious this time. So let's see. Let me look at this. So this first region is 20 bars, right? Then if you look at the cell inspector, we have 4, 4, 4, 4. So this basically broke it down. So that's really cool. I didn't know it was going to copy 4 of them, but let's go ahead and try out 8 bar loops. I would assume it's going to do 2. Nice. Let's listen to one of them. Sweet. I like that. And again, you know, this would probably work a little better if you had something that was a bit more extemporaneous, but it's cool. Let's go extract loops. And this time I'll say, hey, can you just give it a go? Right? Can you just give me what you got? Right? Wow. Okay, so let me click on each one. This one's 13. Okay, that one's 7, 19, 12, and 12. And how it made those decisions. Wow, and it really broke this down. Let me check out the one in 5. Okay, this is really interesting because I don't know if you guys heard that the progression was actually different. So the original progression goes like this. So it changes right away. Da-na, ba-da-da-na, ba-da-da-na, right? But here, it actually holds the progression. Now, this is probably because it took the ending of the original progression and just made it the beginning. But still, here. Look, it holds it for a couple more bars. Listen. And then it changes. Really cool. Again, as far as creativity goes, I love it. I'm going to hit T. I'm going to hit E. And I will erase all these loops. Boom. Oh, is it only individual? You would think you could strike through like that. Cool. TT brings me back. Let's go. So this is called loop extraction, right? Really interesting. I might want to make another video on this, really detailing it. If you want to see that, go ahead and hit me in the comments, and I will gladly make that for you, my good friends. All right, let's keep it going. 647, create cells. How do we actually create cells? All right, here are a couple ways. You can create new cells and edit them in the cell editor or record audio and MIDI. All right, so again, we can drag them in, third-party Apple Loops library, or we can record audio and MIDI. Software instrument tracks can contain MIDI and pattern cells. I love that they're establishing a lot of this stuff, right? It especially, needs to be repeated as you're learning the program, learning a new language, as we've spoken. So you want to make sure that you track these ideas and you ingrain them. In Logic Pro, do any of the following to create an audio cell. Control-click an empty cell on an audio track, then choose Create Cell. Okay, so audio track, I'll just do this one here. Control-click, Create Cell. Now, nothing has really happened other than it creates a border. Obviously, this is not an audio region yet, but if I was about to record into this, right? Let's say I have a performance and the first thing that comes in is the bass, right? We can start to predetermine some of its attributes. That's pretty magical stuff. Same goes for MIDI. If you're on a software instrument track, remember that you can create both MIDI and pattern. Okay, that's been established. And of course, drummer is its own technology, and we can create an individual drummer track, right? So if I have drummer like I do here on track number 39, if I control click, it says, hey, create drummer cell. You can also just hit that plus button that shows up when you hover over an empty cell. All right, let's move on to the next section. Add a cell from the live loops grid to the tracks area. In Logic Pro, do one of the following. Drag a cell to a track of the same type in the tracks area. All right, we know this behavior. We know how this works, okay? It says if you drag a cell to an empty area below the existing tracks, it's going to basically create a new track of the appropriate type, depending on what you drag in. The new track is going to have the same channel strip settings as the original track. For example, guitar. Notice I have 3 plugins instantiated, 2 buses. If I grab this, drag it, let's say over here, we have 3 plugins instantiated, 2 bus and sends. Okay. All right. When you drag a cell from the live loops grid to the tracks area, Logic Pro places a copy of the cell as a region in the tracks area. The original cell in the live loops grid remains unchanged. The track already contains regions at the position where you place the cell. Of course, it's going to replace or overlap with the resulting new region. Now, this behavior, I believe, it's not stated here, but I believe that it's determined by option N. Your drag mode, you have this set to no overlap, it will replace, and if you have it set to overlap, of course, it will replace it. All right, let's keep it moving here. Option L, back into live loops. And by the way, if you haven't checked out the latest video on our channel, it actually is about live looping, so check that out. I really think you would appreciate the content there. All right, copy a scene to the tracks area. Logic Pro in the tracks area, set the playhead at the position where you want to paste cells. And then, of course, you would control click the scene, and you have the option of doing one of a couple of things to shift the content of all tracks to the right of the playhead. Of course, it should be on the bar, right? Then you're going to choose insert scene at playhead, key command being command end. Okay, I'm going to try that out. So in the case of this cell, I click on it one time and hit command end. I want to make sure I look at this, so let's hit option B. Okay, let me delete all this stuff here, and let's go bar 2, shall we? All right, it's in position. I hit command. I hit end. Okay, why not? Oh, it wasn't selected. Maybe now. Let's try this out. Okay, cool. Check that out. Now, what's interesting, of course, it's still bypassed because track priority button, right? Well, what's really fascinating is it dragged in the whole thing, right? Regardless of how it loops inside the live loops grid, the cells are as long as they say they are. So, for example, if I click here, this is a drummer region. The cell length is 4 bars. Well, when I dragged it in, guess what we got, guys? 4 bars. Conversely, track number 1, when we look at this, the cell length is 2. And so we got 2 bars. So that's a factor, but this is easy to edit, right? We could just do something like that, create a marquee selection. I would probably just delete that, call it a day. Cool. All right, let's bring our key focus back into the live loops grid. We'll hit tab. So now we're focusing inside of the live loops grid. I really like this, really nice, really slick. We can also copy the scene to playhead by choosing copy scene to playhead. Okay, how do we choose copy scene to play? Is this in edit? It doesn't tell us, right? I'm assuming it's going to be in edit. When you copy a scene to play position and existing regions are okay. Yeah. Choose copy scene to playhead. I guess or unless it's here somewhere. Copy scene. Okay, yeah, got it. So this is not set to a key command, or they're saying control click and then hover over the menu item and then click. Right, yeah, that would yield the same results. So you can hit the key command or you can just use the contextual menu. All right, 648. All right, how do I create an Apple loop, right? So let's say you have a cell where we can actually create our own Apple loops from those cells. A couple ways to do it. You can control click a cell, export, add to loop library. So that one's pretty basic. I'll take this drummer region. You could do it with anything. Actually, we'll do the guitar just because it started. Let me go ahead and stop this playhead, bring it back. All right, so let's see. Yeah, I'll control click that, and we want to go export, add to loop library. When you do that, you will get this dialog window. You can enter the metadata and then access that loop inside of the Apple Loop browser. Of course, you can select the cell and then go into File, Export. So I'll click that. File, Export, region, or cell to loop library. It's interesting because the terminology is very flexible, right? Like you're calling it region and cell. So theoretically, cell is synonymous both for the container, which basically houses a region, right? So it's just interesting. I just want to throw that out there because I've heard both the word region and I've heard both the word cell. All right, cool. Add region to Apple Loops library window opens, providing several options. Yes, we already know about this. All right, cool. Looks like we're getting into recording cells. And we will do this after a word from our sponsors. Most people would have fallen by now. I would say 80%. But you keep working. I honor you. I salute you. Let's keep doing it. Right? You keep aggregating those skills. Keep crushing it. One day you wake up, you're the best in the world. Literally. Let's go. Let's just keep going, all right? We're going to finish this no matter what. Rededicate, recommit yourself to the process, and one day you will find that the choices that you have made all the difference in the world. So let's keep going. Logic user guide. If you're loving the content, you know what I'm about to ask you, right? Go ahead and share just one time, right? Take a quick picture, right? Go ahead and share this with a family member, right? Somebody from school, somebody you love, and say, hey, this guy's awesome. Check him out. But more important than that, I can actually help you. And that's what I'm looking forward to, right? I see so many people get across from just imagining that they can do it, thinking that perhaps it's possible, and then actually doing it. You don't believe me? Check out my track record. All right. This next section is going to be interesting, okay? So we're going to record to cells. I need you to drink some water. Go take a cold shower. All right. If you're bedazzled here, you need to take a cold shower. All right. We're just gonna pause, right? Because you're just gonna hit pause, and so you'll just save this moment in time, and then I will continue moving in some other dimension. So let's record to cells. We're gonna read first, and then we will apply. Roger that. Here we go. All right. You can record to an audio or MIDI cell, even while the other cells are playing. So right here, this makes for live performance, right? The settings for audio signal flow, software instruments, and the metronome are the same as when you record regions in the tracks area. All right, there's a little thing there. So everything essentially, as far as signal flow, MIDI, right, arpeggiator, MIDI effects, all that stuff, everything works the same. If you need both hands to play an instrument, you can set the length of the recording to a predefined value. All right, so now they're letting you know this is how you perform, right? They're giving you the keys. Hey, if you want to perform using live loops, you're going to have to do this one thing. Set the length of the recording to a predefined value, right? When you determine the cell length, you no longer necessarily have to use your hands to do everything. Now, if you use a foot controller, that doubles the ante. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, check out my video called Triggering Live Loops with an External Foot Controller or something to that effect. Otherwise, you can set it to the nearest bar or beat while recording, right? And they also have easier versions as well, where when you stop, it considers the nearest bar or beat, and then it will start playback after that, if you set it that way. When the end of the recording length is reached, you can stop recording, right? And automatically this will just play what you record. This is what a lot of people are looking for. I was helping some individuals today in a couple of forums, and I had to walk somebody through the procedure, how it would turn out. You can continue recording multiple takes to the cell, right? So not only can you just have the cell play back what you just recorded, but you can also continue recording as well. And why this is important is because what if you don't get it right the first time? What if, I don't know, there was some subtleties in your playing that you wanted to change, right? Or you can actually merge the software instrument performances. So I believe they mentioned this because the software instrument side of things is going to interpret this a little bit differently. When you enable tracks for recording, a cell record button appears on empty cells when you move the pointer over them. So when you record arm a track, you hover over it, an empty cell is going to show the cell record button. Okay. Clicking the cell record button triggers the cell to start recording at the next quantized start point. Now remember, this is all determined and following the quantized start. So depending on how you have that set up, that can happen immediately or that can take another bar or two. You can use the record into cell key command to trigger cells to start and stop recording and to set the record length while recording. Now this is important. It's saying, hey, not only can we trigger it to start, but we can also stop. Right? So this is good. Let's highlight that. Then it's saying you can also set the record length while recording. Wow. So this is interesting. You can do this while it's actually recording. I want to hear more about that. I'm thinking that depending on how you have it set up, if you stop early, it will decide it's 1 bar, 2 bars. But let's see. Let's wait and see. You can also assign a key command to a controller, such as a foot switch or a pedal, to accelerate your workflow. So, they're looking out for you. They understand that people want to use the program to perform. And, of course, they are following through with the demands of the people. You can control cell recording using the following parameters in the cell inspector. Okay, so you only have to know 3, all right? And they are recording length, and recording end. Quick note, you can't actually record to drummer or pattern cells, right? Because pattern cells, you have to input the data. It's probably the easiest way you can input this MIDI data. And drummer, it's an AI tech basically, and it just does the work for you. Let's go back here, recording. So this is going to determine what happens to the cell when you record. So, in other words, when we record, are we going to replace the previous performance? Are we going to record new performances to a take folder? Or for software instruments, are we going to merge? Right? There's no take folders. It'll just basically merge tracks into a folder. Okay, so we know that we can determine what happens as we record. What about the length? This is going to determine the duration of the recording. You can set it to match the cell length value or manually set it to the next bar, beat, or recording. So you could say, hey, I know this guitar part is only 4 bars. I want to set it to 4 bars. Or you can just say next bar or beat, and if you stop the beat or if you stop the recording, let's say a beat or 2 early, Logic will know, depending on when you hit that key command, when you want to stop. If you're kind of really taking your time, you should probably use bar. It depends on the part, really, and how fast it is. But anyway, you can experiment with those. And then finally, what happens when we're done, right? So this here is going to determine what happens when the record length is reached. You can set it to immediately play back, as we stated, continue recording more takes of the performance, or start merging software instrument performances depending on the recording setting. Okay, set the recording mode. We do this inside of the cell inspector. We can also control click on the regions. So like for this one here, right, we can go into, let's see. Let me see if I can hover. Click there. Recording modes are here. Recording length and then record end action. All right, but these are essentially the same as these here. So let's change this one to automatic bars. You should see that reflected here. So let's see, recording mode, automatic bars. If I go back to cell length, that's reflected there. Okay. Select. Hold on. Take, merge. Yep, gotcha. Are we doing some actions here? What are we doing? Not really taking us through any actions. They're just explaining kind of what happens here. Yeah, we talked about this part, recording length. Okay, let's go over recording length, and then maybe we'll just kind of, play with all the parameters. So you can set the length of the cell recording with this parameter. You can choose from the following settings. You can say, hey, I want this to be perfect 4 bars. If you choose automatic, which is probably great if you're just starting, you want the length of the recording to be set to the nearest bar. So again, when I hit this key command, it's going to basically give me a bar, and then it will start recording. So this is probably also useful, I'm assuming, I'm not sure, but if you have a guitar line that starts actually before the beat, I wonder if this kind of comes into play. Like, you don't want to record on bar 1 and you want to start recording at bar 3. I would assume this has something to do with that, but we got to check it out. 650. You can also control click the cell to choose the recording length. And then there's an end action. Let's read about this. At the record end action, this is going to basically tell Logic what to do when we have finished recording. Depending on how you set this up, it can be useful for recording multiple takes, right? Again, this could be a solo, and maybe you just want to select sections. I don't know. I mean, your creativity is limitless, so I will not be surprised by anything I see at this point. Or for merging multiple performances when recording a software instrument, right? Maybe we just want some options in case we want to jam and just see what sounds good. Some people are very, very free flow with their creative process. Some people are very stringent, very strict, very, very sterile. So no right or wrong. We're just giving you some ways to play the game. All right. We can tell Logic, hey, when you're done, can you just start playing again? Right? When we get to the last bit here, can you just start playing back? Or you can just say, hey, continue recording. We want to keep recording tracks and we want to create takes. But it's not going to allow you to create quick swipe comping. I just want to be clear. You can't do that inside of live loops. Okay, but you can have takes and you can, mix and match as far as picking 1 or 2 or 3. And then if you wanted to bounce one and edit, you can do all that. When continue recording is selected and the record length parameter is set to automatic, right, all of a sudden we see a plus button in the middle of the cell while the cell is recording. Clicking the button sets the record length to the nearest bar B and starts the next recording pass. So when you select continue recording and your record length parameter is set to automatic, you know what? I should highlight this. I think this is a good point. You're going to see something new inside of the cell, and that is a plus symbol. And when you do this, basically you can start recording at the next pass. All right. Again, you can select this within Cell Inspector or within the region. Okay, record to a cell. So we're going to record arm the track first. So let's see here. I have this synth here. All right, so I'm going to control click. It is record enabled. If it's not, if you don't see that small red R, okay, it means it's not. You can hit control R to activate it, and then look what happens to the cell, right? It gives you an indication that it's ready to go. I don't need this cell that I created here, right? Remember, we created a cell, but let's do that here for fun, right? Create MIDI cell. All right, now this is ready to go. I could start determining the play from positions, recording, right? So here, I'll select a cell and set the necessary parameters for recording length. Select a cell and use the record cell. So we can click on the record icon here or just hit Option R. Record into cell key command, control click a cell. You can also just control click and access it like that. Bear in mind that your click and your count in will be kind of dictating what happens as far as all that goes. Nothing changes in that regard. They're saying, hey, go ahead and perform whatever it is you're trying to perform. If the record length is set to cell length and the at record action is set to change to play mode, recording stops automatically. So let's start with that. The record length is going to be set to set length. So record set to cell length. And then when we end, we want this to play back, just play mode. All right. Now let's test this. If you use a different cell recording, do either of the following. Okay, so let's just try that out to start. Okay, so again, I'll click here and I will record into cell. My count in is ready to go. Let's do it. Now, this is cool, but I'm not playing with the song. Well, we determined that we want it to be a certain length. And where this is determined, by the way, is up here where it says cell length inside of the cell inspector. So then what I'm going to tell Logic now is, hey, this is great, but I want to play with, the band, so to speak, right? So then let's change this back to play mode. And then this time, I have this ready to go. I will cue the scene prior to recording this time, and then we'll take it away. All right, cool. Let's say that the performance was off. As far as timing, we would just go quantize, and then I'll just go 16th notes, and that should fix it up quite nicely. Okay, so now you have a sense of how that works. Now, the only reason that stopped is because the cell length was set up as so, right? So I'll click here, and then this time I'll create, you don't have to create a MIDI cell, but I'll just start designating and saying, hey, I actually want you to do a couple things for me. I want it to be 4 bars, but this time keep recording, right? And the length will be whatever I set it to be, so at the nearest bar. And so I'll stop early so you can kind of see what it does. And then recording, we're just going to merge. Actually, you know what? Let's do takes. Yeah, this will be a little bit better. And I'll cue the scene. And then I'll record. Here we go. All right, so because I stopped early, a bar early, Logic knows, if you look at the properties here, it knows that I wanted this to be, right, 8 bars. And if we play back, they should all play just fine. So let me go ahead and go to quantize. This is the quantize MIDI workflow here, right? All right, I'm just quantizing that cell, and let's try it. So you're going to need to play with this to really see how this pans out for you and how you like to play the game, right? Everybody's going to play the game a little bit differently, but hopefully this gives you a little bit more insight into how to use these modes. Let's see here. Set recording defaults for cells by type. In some cases, it can be convenient to set the cell length, recording mode, and MIDI quantization for cells before recording, right? So now they're giving you a heads up, hey, if you're recording audio or MIDI, there are some things that we can do. Like what? This right here is a really good topic. I'm telling you, never heard a single person talk about this. And I go deep with this. I know a lot of people in the industry. Very, very happy to be able to have conversations and learn about this program. Like I learn so much every single day from it. Absolutely blows my mind. So we're going to deselect all the cells, and then inside of the cell inspector, cell audio defaults. Wow. Okay, let me check this out. Let me click here. Let me turn flex just in case. And inside of cell, hold on, let me hit Shift D. All right, so nothing has to be selected. And I still don't see defaults. Where is this? Is it inside the cell inspector? Right, cell audio defaults. Yeah, that's what they mean. Okay, so when nothing is selected, it looks like you can determine the recording defaults for audio and MIDI, depending on the type of track that you select. That's really incredible, right? So let's say you always know you want 4 bars. You just set this up in advance. You always want it to go back to play mode, and then you always want to see, would there be anything else? And you always want to set to the no, that would be 4 bars, and that wouldn't matter because you would set this back to play mode. Yeah, so then that could be set up a certain way. I'm definitely going to do this at a later date. The cell inspector set the default values, including the default cell lengths, recording settings. Okay, so this is actually important because they're telling you to set the cell length, how long, the recording settings, as I showed you, and then the quantized value. So you could input quantized performances. 16th notes is probably the way to go. I'm going to set that up for myself. So let me just go for it, and let's just see how this turns out. Okay, so again, I am set to well, now it's funny, the record length changed to cell length, but originally it was at automatic. And when I click on the cell itself, we want to look at how long it actually is. So let's start looking at some information up here. It's 7 bars. All right, so this right here is a mistake, right? So we need to make sure that we're on top of that. I think I ducked too early, right? I bowed out a little too early there. So I want to make sure that this is set to a perfect integer, 80, unless musically you're doing something, complex. But let's listen to this. So guys, it's playing to the grid, right? So it's doing its job in that regard. And then when we go into the region, because I fixed it, it's 8 bars. But that should probably be set to 8 bars anyway, to be honest. I think that would fit my workflow. So that's what they're talking about here. So go ahead and keep covering ground. What is the difference between set recording defaults and for an individual set? Whoa, are you seeing this? You do it for cells by type, but then you could set the recording default for an individual cell. So guys, wow. Now the possibilities, you can set up a template and you can have one row where the individual cells, I believe, I'm speaking ahead of myself, but you can set up the recording defaults and what have you, and have it be set up ahead of time, and you know what your template is and what it does, and so this could be fodder for just an incredible performance, right? Where it's just effortless. You don't have to do any of this. So there is some prep time involved, but if you think of the power behind it, it can really make a difference. So you can also set defaults for individual cells. Wow. I'm telling you guys, this is really, really next level. This can be useful when you want to predefine a different recording length to a different scene, while keeping automatic recording lengths in bars as a general default. So you can have an automatic recording length as the recording defaults for cells by type, but then you can change the behavior of just one individual cell, or many, of course. Logic Pro select one or more of the cells. Cells must be of the same type, of course. And then in the cell inspector, set the default values, including the default cell length. This is nice. Wow. I'm just so many ideas for videos. You guys know that I'm putting together a Logic Pro curriculum right now, and it's going to be fire. I'm really excited about what it's going to do for people, how it's going to contribute. I'm uber excited about this. All right, so when I see you guys next time, we're going to record and edit takes and cells in Logic Pro. All right. So we're going to start creating takes, and we're going to kind of learn the behavior, right? How this unfolds. And we can't really, use quick swipe comping, but there are some benefits to utilizing this. We can change the loop settings for cells in Live Loops Pro. So we're going to learn a little bit more about that. And of course, we'll learn how to work with the start position of loops, really important, especially creatively speaking. And then we'll set the quantize loop start position as well. We're going to learn how to turn off looping, key command L, among other things. And then from there, we start to talk about the relationship between live loops and the tracks area. My good friends, it is time to go. Thank you so much for our time together.